Morning. Um, Happy Thursday to everybody. Um, Welcome to Mornings with Michael, which is brought to you for informational, educational, and sometimes entertainment purposes. Here's the news. The hiring came in a lot hotter than expected, and everybody's worried about continued interest rate increases because of it. And so the yield on the bond has gone up, and we'll take a look at that in a bit. And markets are selling off today, most of them gapping down. So let's take a look at our news right now. World news. The American Petroleum Institute said weekly crude inventories fell 4.382 million in the latest week versus a draw of 2.408 the week prior, while gasoline stockpiles rose 280,000 barrels and gasoline inventories rose 1.61.5 million barrels this week. The bull bear spread in the American Association of Individual Investors, AAII weekly survey was 21.9 versus 14.4 last week. Bulls rose to 46.4 from 41.9. And naturally, that's when the market sells off. Neutrals fall to 29.1 and bears fall to 24.5 from 27.5. Retail sales in the Eurozone flatlined in May for the second month in a row, a weaker result than expected for a rise of 0.2%. On an annual basis, the volume of sales was down 2.9% in May. Australia's trade surplus on aggregate goods and services surplus rose $1,337 in May to 11.791 billion. Exports lifted 4.4%, while imports rose 2.5%, driven by a 7.7% rise in consumption imports. Onto our sector stock news. Coty, COTY, boosted its adjusted EBITDA guidance for the full year, 965 million to 970 million. The prior view was 955 million to 965 million. Genius Sports, GENI, said it was extending an exclusive partnership with the NFL to distribute live game data and statistics to media and betting markets until the 2027-28 season. Also gains the exclusive rights to distribute NFL's watch and bet live video to sportsbooks. Target Corporation, TGT, said it's planning a Target Circle Week for back-to-school deals July 9th to 15th, followed by another week for back-to-college deals July 16th to August 26th. Energy, industrials, and materials. ExxonMobil, XOM, said it sees the change in gas prices negatively to impact Q2 upstream earnings by 2.2 billion to 1.8 billion versus Q1. Said gas prices to lower upstream earnings by 2 billion, says refining margins to lower earnings by 2.1 billion. JetBlue, JBLU, said it won't appeal a judge's ruling to undo the airline's partnership with American Airlines, AAL. JetBlue is in the process of trying to acquire budget carrier Spirit Airlines, SAVE, a deal the Justice Department sued to block earlier this year. Financials. Bank of America, BAC, announces a plan to increase quarterly dividend 9% to 24 cents per share. Affirm Holdings, AFRM, downgraded to underweight from neutral at Piper as higher rates and competition put pressure on margins. BlackRock, BLK, has resubmitted its filing through the NASDAQ to include new details to launch an exchange-traded fund backed by Bitcoin. The SEC approved several Bitcoin futures-based ETFs in the past, but has yet to give a green light to anything that invests directly in Bitcoin itself. Healthcare. Alarity, ALLR, price is 2.44 million shares at $4.50 in a public offering. Histogen, HSTO, to explore strategic alternatives and has decided to pause further development of its programs and commence a process to explore strategic alternatives. VBI Vaccines, VBIV, and Brill Biosciences expand hepatitis B partnership to address both prevention and treatment in license and collaboration agreements for up to 437 million with royalties, announces concurrent public offering, registered direct offering. Technology, Media, and Telecom, Meta Platforms, META, or Facebook, is edging higher in US pre-market. And during the market, actually, we can take a look at that. After Instagram officially unveiled Threads, an app designed to be a direct rival to Twitter, the move is set to extend Wednesday's market beating gains. Vimeo, VMEO, said CEO Anjali Sood will leave the company next month to pursue other opportunities. Board member Adam Gross, a former Salesforce and Dropbox executive, will take over as interim CEO effective September 1st. And that's our news for the day. Okay, let's take a look, see if we can find our map. Heat map is missing at the moment. Try it one more time. You got a sea of red. Very little green today. Microsoft is up 1%. Everything else is down practically. In the healthcare, Lilly is up, but pretty much everything else is in the red or gray, which is marginally down. So that's where heat map in the S&P 500 is looking today. And then once again, I'm going to show our annuity. If you don't like losses, this is the best place to be. And it shows that average annual growth is 12.5% versus the indices, which is 7.57%. And this is a kind of sell-off, kind of what we're looking at right now. And we'll go take a look at it. But recommend that most people be better off in annuity or index universal life insurance where you don't have to worry about losses. And we can see the index universal life does not get quite this same return. It's closer to 8%. But that is where we'll hold it for today. And let's go to our charts. First, we got the Russell Capital small caps. And you can see they're gapping down, and this is kind of a bad sign. They're on the low of the day and moving towards their 200-day. We'll see where they head down. Take a look at our VIX. As I said back over here, this was a bullish hammer pattern. And look where we've gone. Gap up here, another gap up. And it's really pretty strong right now in the top 3/4 of its range. So that means that the S&P 500 is down. Taking a look at the S&P 500, as I had mentioned a week or so ago, that the markets don't like to be this far above the moving averages, and see how far above they were of the 50-day moving average, which is this red line right here, pulling back to the 10-day right now, which is the pinkish line above the 20-day. So we'll see if that can hold. We got two gaps here. We'll see if they eventually fill. Take a look at the NASDAQ. Very similar. And it looks like we got a bounce off of the 10-day, which is positive. It's good that we've come back here, allowing the 50-day line to catch up. We'll just see where it goes from here. We'll take a look at our equal weight, take out some of the big issuers, and the equal weight is down a lot further. Equal weight has fallen through the 10-day and pulled it back to the 20-day. And that's quite a move. So we got quite a gap down there. Take a look at the equal weight on the S&P 500. Similar action, pull back to its 20 days, trying to bounce, get back to the 10-day. And we got a pretty ugly gap there. Our Dow Jones. Pretty good. Very similar to the small caps. Gap down, and it is now really on the low end. We don't got much of a bounce on this. So it's getting pretty close to our 50-day moving average. We'll see if it continues down. So let's take a look at the dollar. Dollar pulling back to its 200 after a big move yesterday. Take a look at our yields. Look at our yields, they're just gapping up, soaring after that employment number. So you can really see we got a breakout yesterday, and it's just extending these gains. Whether we fill this gap or not, it's a big question. Everybody's fearing the Federal Reserve is going to continue to hike our interest rates. PBT gapping up as well. Tried to break out yesterday, couldn't quite get there, but it pretty much looks like we got a breakout today. So the 20-year is now at 3.129. And our 10-year is above 4%. 4.06. Take a look at our 1 to 3 year bonds. Have fallen quite a bit, so the yields continue higher. We don't have a 1 to 3 year bond yield available, but if we did, we'd certainly have a breakout. Take a look at our silver. Silver is pulling back to its declining 10-day moving average. Gold pulling back as well. We saw copper fell yesterday, and it just is continuing to pull back. Ero Copper is showing a lot of strength, a lot stronger than the other mining companies. This is a smallish Canadian mining company in copper. FCX is falling pretty strong, and Vale as well. So on a basis of looking at Looks like the smallish firm is holding up a lot better. Let's take a look at some of our indexes, ETF, I should say. Financials pulling back below the 200. Right now they're at the 10 and 20-day moving average as they come together. Energy is dropping like a rock. Oil prices pretty stable. I guess the news with ExxonMobil losing money on all fronts, or their earnings not coming in as strong on all fronts, I should say. And you can see most of XLE is dropping on that ExxonMobil news. Commercial services holding up pretty well, still above the 10-day moving average. Take a look at Facebook, which is a strong component there, and Google. Google bounced off of its 50-day moving average right here. Got quite a pullback here. But we do have a little triangle pattern here forming. So we'll just see if we can get above this, and that looks pretty strong. Take a look at utilities. Pulling back slightly. They had a pretty good move yesterday. Technology. Oh, wow, we got a little bounce off. Looked like it got close to the 20-day, and now it's still above the 10-day. That is pretty bullish news right there. It's such a bad day in the market. At our semiconductors, pulling back right under our 20-day moving average. They're very strong and above the 50, so we can just let this 50 kind of rise up here and support this. Maybe a positive move. IGB, our software, bouncing off of the 20-day moving average. Just take a look at a few of them. Salesforce holding pretty steady at their 10 and 20-day. HubSpot has been our leader in software. Sold off and is bouncing back now. Was down at 498 and now has risen above 500 again. And ServiceNow remaining pretty tight right there. You can see that they got some big earnings increase coming in 2024. The volume's been pretty low on the selling. So we'll just have to continue to watch that. Jets, which has been kind of strong, a little bit of a pullback. United Airlines pulling back to its 10-day moving average. JetBlue with that news is selling off a lot stronger, where they got declined for Spirit Airlines sale and the AAL news. Let's see what else. We looked at Facebook Meta. was in the news. I guess we can look at Bank of America. They got a pretty big sell-off today based on the news of increased dividends. So let's take a look at a couple other issues here. Take a look at our materials. Now we get a strong pullback there. Housing stocks pulling back to the 20-day moving average. That strong bond yield increase. You're going to put pressure on people buying homes, I guess. And look at building materials. They're pulling back to the 50-day. We've got a little bit of a bounce there, so that's, and I guess we'll take a look at the industrials as well. The Dow pulling back, that is not quite as bad as the Dow. So this sector ETF seems to perform a little better than the Dow on the way up and on the way down. So let's go take a look at what's trending. Lifezone Materials up 45% today. This is a blank check looking to acquire clean and renewable energy. You must have some news out there to be moving that much. Inspire Technology is up 8.5%. Cannabis distributor. Sweet Green. Fast food restaurants is up 16.3%. Perion, Israeli networking company. They're up about 10%, huge gap up. Massive volume. This is good news, and as you can see, when the was selling off, it's pretty low volume, and now we got a gap up. It's pretty interesting. Rivian is back in, continue to move here up against this 200-day moving average. It's got quite a move off of the bottom here. So we'll see if it can consolidate. It's up 1% today. Take a look at Tesla and the EV group. I know Kathy Woods of ARK Funds has been selling off a lot, but Tesla still remains pretty strong up here. Take a look at some of the other FANG stocks. So we fixed our screen. We're going to take a look at Netflix. Netflix still looks pretty positive here. We're going through the FANG. We looked at Meta earlier. We looked at Google. NVIDIA still holding up pretty good, right along its 10-day moving average, down just 1.2% today. And look at Mr. Softy. Microsoft is actually up, as we saw in the heat map earlier, 1.1%. So that's our look there. See what's moving down. Alcoa in the materials area is dropping. Let me just adjust our chart here. Is off 5.2%. American Airlines is got a slight pullback, 2.48%, which isn't too bad considering the move they made. In tech, Air Test Systems pulling back about 3%. See if it can just stabilize here. Firm Holdings, which was in the news, is down about 15%. Increased interest rates are putting pressure on their business. With the bond rates jumping up, that's not going to help any. AMC Networks off about 4%. Number of the ARK funds are down pretty strong here. Just take a look at one of them. You have a lot of high growth stocks in them. So whenever the bond yields increase, these are going to pull back strong. So they're down about 4%. And that's about all we have time for today. We appreciate your attendance, and let's look at our market today. We've got strong hiring. Looks like interest rates are going to continue to go up. The pressure on the banks, there's about 90 banks that have been struggling. That's why the Federal Reserve actually paused for the month, was to help out banks. But that's our story. Go out there and continue to work on your goals and your activities and continue to astound ourselves. We appreciate it. Hope you have finish the week strong. Happy Thursday to everybody, and we'll see you back here bright and early Friday morning.